together fell upon the foreigners, they fought in a way worthy of record. These are the first Hellenes whom we know of to use running against the enemy. They are also the first to endure looking at Median dress and men wearing it, for up until then just hearing the name of the Medes caused the Hellenes to panic. They fought a long time at Marathon. In the centre of the line the foreigners prevailed, where the Persians and Saci were arrayed. The foreigners prevailed there, and broke through in pursuit inland. But on each wing the Athenians and Plataeans prevailed. In victory they let the routed foreigners flee, and brought the wings together to fight those who had broken through the centre. The Athenians prevailed, then followed the fleeing Persians, and struck them down. When they reached the sea they demanded fire, and laid hold of the Persian ships. In this labour Callimachus the Polemarch was slain, a brave man, and of the generals Stesilaus, son of Thrasilaus, died. Cynegeirus, son of Euphorion, fell there, his hand cut off with an axe as he grabbed a ship's figurehead. Many other famous Athenians also fell there. In this way the Athenians overpowered 7 ships. The foreigners pushed off with the rest, picked up the Eretrian slaves from the island where they had left them, and sailed around Sunium, hoping to reach the city before the Athenians. There was an accusation at Athens that they devised this by a plan of the Alcmeonidae, who were said to have arranged to hold up a shield as a signal once the Persians were in their ships. They sailed around Sunium, but the Athenians marched back to defend the city as fast as their feet could carry them, and got there ahead of the foreigners. Coming from the sacred precinct of Heracles in Marathon, they pitched camp in the sacred precinct of Heracles in Cynosarges. The foreigners lay at anchor off Phalerum, the Athenian naval port at that time. After riding anchor there, they sailed their ships back to Asia. In the battle at Marathon, about 6,400 men of the foreigners were killed, and 192 Athenians. That many fell on each side. The following marvel happened there. An Athenian, Epizelus, son of Cuphagoras, was fighting as a brave man in the battle, when he was deprived of his sight, though struck or hit nowhere on his body, and from that time on he spent the rest of his life in blindness. I have heard that he tells this story about his misfortune. He saw opposing him a tall armed man, whose beard overshadowed his shield, but the phantom passed him by, and killed the man next to him. I learned by inquiry that this is the story Epizelus tells. Datis journeyed with his army to Asia, and when he arrived at Mykonos he saw a vision in his sleep. What that vision was is not told, but as soon as day broke, Datis made a search of his ships. He found in a Phoenician ship a gilded image of Apollo, and asked where this plunder had been taken. Learning from what temple it had come, he sailed in his own ship to Delos. The Delians had now returned to their island, and Datis set the image in the temple, instructing the Delians to carry it away to Theban Delium, on the coast opposite Chalcis. Datis gave this order and sailed away, but the Delians never carried that statue away. 20 years later the Thebans brought it to Delium by command of an oracle. When Datis and Artaphernes reached Asia in their voyage, they carried the enslaved Eretrians inland to Susa. Before the Eretrians were taken captive, King Darius had been terribly angry with them for doing him unprovoked wrong, but when he saw them brought before him and subject to him, he did them no harm, but settled them in a domain of his own called Arderica in the Scythian land. This place is 210 stadia distant from Susa, and 40 from the well that is of 3 kinds. Asphalt and salt and oil are drawn from it in the following way. A windlass is used in the drawing, with half a skin tied to it in place of a bucket. This is dipped into the well and then poured into a tank. Then what is drawn is poured into another tank and goes 3 ways. The asphalt and the salt congeal immediately. The oil, which the Persians call radinaceae, is dark and evil-smelling. There King Darius settled the Eretrians, and they dwelt in that place until my time, keeping their ancient language. Such was the fate of the Eretrians. After the full moon 2,000 Lacedaemonians came to Athens, making such great haste to reach it that they were in Attica on the 3rd day after leaving Sparta. Although they came too late for the battle, they desired to see the Medes, so they went to Marathon and saw them. Then they departed again, praising the Athenians and their achievement. It is a wonder to me, and I do not believe the story, that the Alcmeonidae would ever have agreed to hold up a shield as a sign for the Persians out of a desire to make Athens subject to foreigners and to Hippias, for it is plain to see that they were tyrant-haters as much as Callias, son of Phinippus and father of Hipponicus, or even more so. Callias was the only Athenian who dared to buy Pisistratus' possessions when they were put up for sale by the state after Pisistratus' banishment from Athens, and he devised other acts of bitter hatred against him. This Callias is worthy of all men's remembrance for many reasons. First, because he so excellently freed his country, as I have said. Second, for what he did at Olympia, where he won a horse race and was second in a 4-horse chariot, after already winning a Pythian prize, and was the cynosure of all Hellas for the lavishness of his spending. And third, for his behaviour regarding his 3 daughters. When they were of marriageable age, he gave them a most splendid gift, and one very pleasant to them, promising that each would wed that man whom she chose for herself from all the Athenians. The Alcmeonidae were tyrant-haters as much as Callias, or not less so. Therefore I find it a strange and unbelievable accusation that they of all men should have held up a shield. At all times they shunned tyrants, and it was by their contrivance that the sons of Pisistratus were deposed from their tyranny. Thus, in my judgment, it was they who freed Athens much more than did Harmodius and Aristogiton. These only enraged the remaining sons of Pisistratus by killing Hipparchus, and did nothing to end the tyranny of the rest of them. But the Alcmeonidae plainly liberated their country, if they truly were the ones who persuaded the Pythian priestess to signify to the Lacedaemonians that they should free Athens, as I have previously shown. Perhaps out of some grudge against the Athenian people they betrayed their country, but there were no others at Athens more esteemed or more honoured than they, therefore plain reason forbids believing that they of all men could have held up the shield for any such cause. A shield was held up, this cannot be denied, for it happened. But who did it, I do not know, and I can say no further. The Alcmeonidae had been men of renown at Athens even in the old days, and from the time of Alcmaeon and then Megacles their renown increased. When the Lydians from Sardis came from Croesus to the Delphic oracle, Alcmaeon, son of Megacles, worked with them and zealously aided them. When Croesus heard from the Lydians who visited the oracle of Alcmaeon's benefits to him, he summoned Alcmaeon to Sardis, and there made him a gift of as much gold as he could carry away at one time on his person. Considering the nature of the gift, Alcmaeon planned and employed this device. He donned a wide tunic, leaving a deep fold in it, and put on the most spacious boots that he could find, then went into the treasury to which they led him. Falling upon a heap of gold dust, First he packed next to his legs as much gold as his boots would contain.